I started this video off with a joke about how it's refreshing to know that there's a worse filmmaker out there than me, only to then realize that the camera was off center, and when I attempted to adjust it, I started to knock the thing over. So I apologize to Tommy Wiseau. You are indeed the better man. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is our post-Geekout reaction for The Disaster Artist. Now, for anybody out there who has not seen a post-Geekout reaction before, it is not a review. I will be having a review for this, and the review, I sit down, think of everything that I want to say, type it all out, record it, edit it, and give it a score at the end. The post-Geekout reaction is just an open, honest discussion between the two of us about the thing that we just watched, and that does indeed include full spoilers.
They're really into spoilers.
It's a biography. If you know what The Room is, spoiler alert, they make a bad movie. There you go. Yes, but we're talking about The Disaster Artist, which is a film about the making of The Room, which is a film that many people have called the best bad movie of all time. It's a cult classic. It like goes around, they do like midnight screens of this thing all across the country where people just like book out theaters to show this thing because people just love how crazy and insane and nuts this movie is. It's weird. It kind of reminds me of, there is also a documentary out there called Best Worst Movie, I think it's called.
Oh yeah, the documentary behind Trolls 2.
Trolls 2, yeah, which that is a great documentary.
It is.
Because like it follows the star of Trolls 2 who went on to become a dentist, and like they just tell him, yeah, you know that movie you made? It's like crazy famous. Like people like love watching this thing. And then it's following him as he goes around and he discovers, oh my god, there's all these people who are like, I know it's a bad film, but they love it because it's a bad film. And it's like, it watches as he gets obsessed with the fame of being the star of Troll 2. And then like, he starts to ignore his dentist office and all of his responsibilities just so that he can like go to conventions to be the Troll 2 guy. And he starts trying to tell like the people in his small town about Troll 2, and they're like, that's nice, I don't understand why people like this. And it kind of like ends with like him at like a horror convention just looking at all these like, no offense to the horror fans out there, but you know me, I'm a horror fan too, so I say this from a place of love. He's looking at all the weirdos and the freak shows, and he looks at one guy and just goes, look at that guy. His teeth must be terrible. And it was like in that moment they realized, what am I doing? I'm not an actor, I'm a dentist. And like he goes back to being a dentist. It's like, that was a fun couple months there, but I'm done. It's an amazing journey to watch that guy. This one, it's weird because I bring this up at the beginning because I love Best Worst Movie. It's one of my favorite documentaries out there. So I kind of went into this thing constantly comparing this movie to that movie because this isn't a documentary.
No.
But it is based on the biography of the guy who played Mark in The Room.
Tommy Wiseau.
No, Tommy Wiseau is Johnny.
Oh yeah, Greg, the other guy.
Yes, exactly, his friend.
Right.
And it's, so this film is very different, but I did have something kind of in my mind to compare it to the whole time. And I will also be totally honest with you guys. As much as I love watching terrible movies, I haven't seen The Room. And one of the reasons I have not seen The Room, even though people keep telling me, oh, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it, is because people keep telling me, oh, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it. It's one of those things where it's been hyped up so much in my mind that I'm like, dude, there's no way that it could have the impact on me that it's going to have on you guys. I know I would just kind of be disappointed in it. But also, I have seen so many videos and reviews of The Room online.
Yeah, like clips.
I've kind of already seen The Room just shot out of order, because there comes a moment at the end of this film in which they just show an audience The Room, and they show large chunks of this film, and I'm like, I've seen all of this. And then at the very end, and like when the credits start rolling, there's like a good like 5 minutes of this movie where they just do a victory lap.
Yeah, like they show the comparison between what they filmed in the original of The Room.
And there's a lot of stuff that they filmed that they don't even use in the rest of this movie. It's just there for like their little, I'm gonna keep calling it a victory lap because I don't know what else to do, but it's basically them just going, look at how close we got to the original. And like because they are just laying the two shots out side by side, and I'm like, yeah, man, you're doing a damn good job. But even so, I was watching that like, yeah, man, I've also seen all these clips where it's like, I really feel like I have seen The Room without actually watching The Room.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I've never actually sat down and watched it. But I wanted to go ahead and let you guys know that because this is a movie that you don't have to see The Room for. And I wanted to make that clear to people out there. Because I know there's a lot of people going, well, do I need to watch The Room before this? You'll probably get extra entertainment out of it. But if you're just aware that The Room exists, you'll actually, you'll be fine. Like, if you know you're tearing me up on Lisa, like, yeah, you're fine. You're good. If you know, oh, hi, Mark. If you know the flower shop scene, you're fine.
It's funny because, like, I remember, like, seeing, like, the first couple of, like, reviews for The Room, like, the Nostalgia Critic and stuff.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant, like, when the movie originally came out.
No. But, like, and then, like, Tommy Wiseau was, like, really upset because of, like, copyright claims, or, like, he was upset that he thought they were making fun of his movie, so he told him to take down the reviews, and now suddenly he's allowing James Franco to, like, do a biography, so...
James Franco probably paid him for that. Money changes a lot of things.
Yes.
But, yeah, that's the other thing, is that at the end of this, basically we'll just jump straight to the end because it has to do with what we're talking about, but at the end of this, when he actually shows the movie, the audience is laughing and rolling over and their sides are aching, and he's, like, crying, and, like, his buddy has to go, like, hey, man, you think Hitchcock ever got a reaction like this? They're having a good time. They're enjoying it. And then he goes, thank you for enjoying my comedy movie just as I intended. And then it like shows like he now goes across the country showing the room to everyone's like, I have heard the guy who played Greg I've heard like the real life Greg in interviews before. And he's made it pretty clear. It's like, no, he wasn't that okay with it to begin with. So yeah, they kind of put a big bow on this thing because they're not going to show like the whole process of him going like years of like, oh, people, I understand it, it's okay.
That makes me wonder like how much of this is real and how much of it is fudged for Hollywood.
There is like all this stuff about the fighting between the two of them.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing reports of that before.
No.
That might have been added in here because the interviews that I remember hearing people who worked on The Room talk about, they were just kind of like, oh, he was insane. He was freaking nuts. But I never heard any like, oh, we like threatened to kick his ass on set kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. Like Tommy seems like the kind of guy who's weird and out there, but not mean, you know. But
at the same time, like I can understand like people like that still can like they can do stuff that makes you go like, what the fuck are you doing? No,
try your patience.
Yeah, exactly. And I can kind of say this from a very personal point. Because I've been doing this show for years now. I have shared so many parts of my life for. I have never ever talked about this on camera. But there comes a moment in which he's making the film and it's got all these people there, this huge cast and crew there. And they are working and struggling to make his vision come true. And then there comes a moment in which they're just like, this guy's fucking nuts, but all right, we just gotta go with it. And it's people who know he's insane, who are just forced to work with him. And it hit me. I am connecting with this on a very personal level. You probably know exactly what I'm going to talk about now. Because my first job working out of college. I mentioned that my first job working out of college was for a governor of a state. That was my second job. I've never talked about the first job before. I moved from North Carolina up to New York because I got a job working at this like startup entertainment company. It was in the day and age of the internet when YouTube was starting to become a big thing, when it was after the bubble for the internet burst and the internet was rebuilding itself. It was like, oh, we understand. This can be like new television. Like we can make this. And like so many, all these companies were popping up doing this. And this one guy came up and went, I'm going to create an entire channel that is all about like we're gonna have different shows. Everybody gets to write down like skits. We're gonna do like interview shows. We're gonna do political shows. We're going to do sketch comedy shows. We're gonna do street interview shows. We're going to have like a sitcom going on. And like we were listening to this plan and everything. I was like, this could work. And he hired me originally just to be like a cameraman. And within like a couple of weeks, I ended up like I just kept like dedicating myself to this so much that I got myself promoted up to being his second in command. Like this was within the span of a couple of weeks. And like it was going so well. And then by like the end of the month of like the first month there, all of a sudden like all the like glitz and glamour kind of wore off. And I kind of went, wait a second. Like it was one of those record scratch moments where like he said something to me. I won't repeat it here because I don't want anybody taking it out of context, like just signaling out that clip and going, look at what Aaron said. But he said something to me, and all of a sudden I just heard the record scratch and went, wait, what? And then I just, like, from there, it was my usual suspects drop the coffee cup, turn around, see the wall behind me moment, and which I realized, oh God, you've been nuts this entire time. Oh God. And I kept working there for 4 months after that because I was like, well, I need a job. And even though he's not always paying me on time, I'm still getting something out of this, and I can still put this on my resume. We're still making videos and stuff that I can put out there on a resume, so it's better than nothing. But every single day he got crazier and crazier. And here's the thing, in this movie, Tommy Wiseau is like, I'm from New Orleans. Yes, I'm same age as you, Greg. And it's like, dude, what's that accent? We know you're not from New Orleans. Where are you actually from? This dude, who I was working for, kept telling me, I am from the Dutch, not the Netherlands. He said, I am from the Dutch. And he had the thickest African accent you've ever heard. And that's how he introduced himself to us. And we all knew it was bullshit. But we kept telling ourselves, like, but this is like the dream job. This is the job we want to have. We're getting paid to do the dream job that we want to do. I've never been to the Netherlands. Maybe they do call it the Dutch. And how do you know there aren't people in the Netherlands with that accent there? That's very prejudiced of you to just make assumptions like that. And yeah, as time went on, he was like, no, he just lies about everything. This whole, I'm from the Dutch, he doesn't even know what they actually call the place, the Dutch call the place that they're from. Like, we knew he was out of his fucking mind. But it's also like, it matches up so much with Tommy Wiseau in the fact that it was like, yeah, this is a guy who won't even tell us his origin. He wants to keep it that secret. The only difference being, Tommy Wiseau was independently wealthy. Like, nobody knows why he was a millionaire, but he was a millionaire. Like,
in this
maybe
movie,
even
a billionaire.
In this movie, one guy actually says to the guy at the bank, actually goes, this guy's income is basically a bottomless pit. Like, it's an endless supply. Our guy, we were constantly strapped for cash, but like, we had an office in Columbus Circle, for God's sakes. Like, even if it was a shitty office, the fact that you could get a spot for recording space in Columbus Circle and you were paying rent on that, it was like, this guy has to be low to be able to pull that off. There were so many of our employees who weren't getting paid on time, didn't get paid at all. There were numerous times that I didn't get paid, and if I did get paid, it was under the table. And like, I mean, he was like, the first time that I actually got paid, he was like, well, I can either pay you under the table or we can do it legally, but if we do it legally, then you have to sign a bunch of forms and then I have to take taxes out of it. I went, legal, pay me legally. It's like, well, that's going to take longer to get together. And then like 2 weeks went by of me not getting paid and I needed to eat. I was like, fuck it, just under the table, I don't care. There came a moment in which he came to me and went, listen to me, big man. He called everyone big man, everyone. He said, listen to me, big man. I'm going to our backers today, and I originally asked them for $5 million. Now, I am going to take what we have shot and ask them for $25 million. And I just went, all right, listen, man, I'm glad that you have high hopes. But if they didn't give you the $5 million, what makes you think they're going to give you the, oh my God, they gave you $5 million, didn't they? That's like when it connected me, it's like, we don't know how you have the money for all this equipment, all these computers, for this amazing spot in Columbus Circle. We don't know how you have that money. You got $5 million from people to start this website, and you have not been paying people. And then he called me up and went, all right, listen to me, big man. We got the $25 million. Everybody, tomorrow is Columbus Day. Everyone take the day off. I am going to get this entire area completely restructured. I'm going to have people come in, completely rebuild everything from the ground up. I was like, great, fine, whatever. At least now maybe we can get paid. I come in that Tuesday, they got my key, put it in the door, open it up, and a tumbleweed blew past me. It was gone. Everything just picked up and left. And I just sat there, I was like, oh my God, we got robbed. Or no, maybe he said he was changing everything around. Maybe we were supposed to go to another place today. Or maybe like we still had the whole week off. Maybe he told me we had Monday off, but he meant the entire week. I tried calling him. Nothing. No pickups, no answers, no anything. And then the other employees started showing up and all of them just, what's going on here? I was like, I don't know what's going on here. I was hoping you would know. And they were like, you're the second in command. Shouldn't you know? It's like, yeah, but I don't. This is the confusing thing. And then it just slowly dawned on each of us. We've been scammed. This was all, like, he got us to make, we thought this was an insane rich dude who was just dragging us all along, refusing to actually put any of the stuff we shot up. And eventually it just got to the point in which I was like, okay, fine, but at least I have this stuff and we are getting paid in some way, shape, or form. He was just getting us to make content for him until he could go and ask for more money. The moment he got that check and cashed it, he was out of there. We had all been scammed, and so I spent the rest of that day, I just went downstairs to the Duane Reade, bought like a 24 case of beer, just brought up there, sat down in the empty room, because I was the second in command. I was just like, well, it's my job to let everyone know. And I just waited the rest of the day as people kept coming into the office. I was like, and every single time, one by one, oh my God, what's going on here? You're going to need this. And just handed them a beer like, so here's the deal. And like, yeah, it was just a long ass day of nothing but that. And like, yeah, as I was watching this film and I saw Seth Rogen in there with the beard and the hat and the glasses and everything, I was just like, oh my God, that's me. That was me. And Seth Rogen was the guy in this entire film. Was like, this dude is fucking insane. He doesn't even know what cameras are. Has he ever seen a movie before? I was like, yeah, man, I relate to him so much. I know that was a long ass story, but I had to tell it because I had to let you guys know this movie comes from a very personal place for me. I have never connected with a movie about filmmaking more than this one in my entire life. So anywho, I'm going to put in here like a little timer thing that says to skip that long ass story, go to this time. Because I had to let you guys know my backstory on that. But at the same time, I know a lot of people were like, get to the fucking movie, I don't care about this. So now we're at the fucking movie that you care about so much. So it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's like, there's like...
That was a long ass build up for nothing.
Yes. But there was just like one thing that like really kind of pissed me off about.
Oh, really?
Yes, okay. Like I appreciate like the moral is like go do something even though it's completely crazy.
I think I know what you're gonna say. Okay.
But you're gonna need a shit ton of money to pull it off.
Thank you. Okay. This movie has been out in New York for a week now. It comes out nationwide today. But we have not been able to see it because it has just been booked solid at every theater that has been shown. It's only been shown in 2 theaters, but every single showing just non-stop booked up. However, like 4 coworkers of mine were able to go and see it, and they came back, and the other day at work they were talking about, I was like, listen man, we all laugh at him, but it's like a really uplifting movie because he did it. He went out there, he had a stream, people made fun of him, but he did. And hey, he's laughing at all of us now because he got all the money off this thing. And it's like, they were talking about how, yeah, it's a very uplifting thing because, yeah, just go and do this. Live out your dream. Who cares what people think? And in the beginning, that is the point of the film. In the beginning, when he is talking to Greg, who is like the worst actor out there, and like he's so worried about what people think, he's like, who cares about these people, Greg? Come on. Here, we're going to do the scene here in this Denny's. Come on. And it's just like making him do this. And I was like, dude, he might not be a good acting coach, but he's a great motivational speaker. Like, he could get you to actually, like, be a better person. Like, that is really fucking uplifting. And then when it gets to the point where you realize he has infinite money, and then, like, just thinking back to all my coworkers, like, yeah, but the important thing is he did it. It's like, no shit, he did it. He had the resources.
Yeah, seriously, that's just like a big old middle finger to everyone who can't afford to go after their dreams.
Yeah, man, Man, right now, we're recording this right after watching the Game Awards. In fact, we had to stop and it's like still going on. But Cuphead has been Wayne made things. And for anybody who knows about the video game industry, the guys who made Cuphead, they had to mortgage their house to pay to make that game. Because they had to work on it that long and it cost that much, but they were that dedicated and they gave up that many resources to making it happen. That's a really damn good story. But you compare that to like, I don't know, EA or somebody out there who is like, yeah, we have billions of dollars here. We just reached into our Scrooge McDuck money bank and made that shit. And I was like, that's not that encouraging of a story.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm so glad you said that because I like this film. I think it is a good movie, But that is a big problem with that.
Yeah.
That is like, in fact, that's like the one big problem I have with it.
And I understand that actually is what happened. Like, he is stupidly rich, but it's like, that still does not help with the message you're trying to get through.
Yeah. Like I said, really in the beginning, the message is really solid. But at the same time, like, man, at the end in which they're just like, hey man, you made people laugh, you made them enjoy it, so who cares if they don't like it? It's like, again, way better story for the dude who was broke. And like, for Greg, that's a pretty decent story.
Yeah.
For Tommy, it's like, man, fuck Tommy. We don't even know like where he got all this money from.
Although like maybe it's sort of encouraging because like maybe he's like one of those like rich kids
Trust
who like
kids, yeah,
like those rich kids who like have everything like done for them, so it's like, oh, he finally did something for himself.
But yeah, there is a way of looking at it like that.
But
you can look at it like that, and also you can look at it as like, hey man, this is the dude who lived in his fantasy world, and this is the moment in which it kind of like came crumbling down on him, but he still like learned a lesson from it. It's like, okay, so that's kind of encouraging too.
Yeah.
But also like there's a lot of like, those rich kids out there, and they just don't do anything with the money. They still sit around. It's just like, man, if I could do something like that, it's like, oh, fuck, man, if you have the resources, just do it. Like, there's no excuse. Like I said, it's not as encouraging of a story as the person had to work for it.
I know, but it's like, at the same time, he said, I couldn't have done it without you, Greg. So, like, maybe he was, like, looking for the right person to help him get, like, his dream off the ground.
He himself had problems. Like, Greg had problems with, like, stage fright and, like, getting up there and doing it. But Tommy was just a lonely guy and he just needed a friend.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can understand that.
Yeah, and then obviously you can tell he was like very lonely because he started like getting jealous when Greg got a girlfriend.
Yeah, that was definitely part of it there. So yeah, that is exactly what my one big problem with this was. I had like a couple other nitpicks just with like, like pacing and such of this, but it's like they weren't that bad.
No.
However, I will still say, even with that big problem in there, I think this is a pretty damn good film about making a film.
Right.
Because it's not something we've seen before. We've seen like the movies about the people who made the film, who like, the thing that we were just describing about like, hey, these people had to work for this thing that they wanted, they had to struggle for it, and then eventually they were able to make that dream happen. Like, we've seen that many times. We've never seen the, but they sucked story. And the thing is, there's a lot of those stories out there. So I actually found this pretty damn interesting.
Also, luckily for Tommy Wiseau, like, he had a so bad it's good movie, because there's been like, I'm sure there are like plenty of, failed attempts where the movie is just bad or uninteresting.
We've seen many.
Like, not even like big corporate movies, like independent films and stuff. Like,
again, I've seen many. Back in college, we had an annual film festival at my school, and it was actually one of the bigger film festivals in North Carolina. And I was on the review board for that, which means I had to watch all the submissions for the festival. Oh my God, guys, follow your dreams, work hard to make them a reality, but oh my God, a lot of them suck. A lot of your dreams are bad. I know that is not a positive, uplifting message to send out there, but it's like, yeah, you bring up a good point. There's a lot of just bad movies out there. That's the thing that, like, whenever people tell me about, like, Tommy Wiseau and, like, The Room being the best, worst movie, it's like, no. It's the best, worst movie that got a major release, that actually got into theaters. I've seen, for every Tommy Wiseau who makes a film that goes in theaters, there's 2,000 of them that just submit to local film festivals, and I've watched those things. So yeah, let's actually go into like some of the performances on this. A lot of people are talking Oscar buzz for James Franco in here, and at first I was kind of like, for real? He's just, everybody on the planet has a Tommy Wiseau impersonation. But I gotta admit, man, watching this, there are moments in which I forget it's James Franco, which to me is very impressive, because James Franco is kind of like Tom Cruise. He's one of those actors who it's really hard for me to look at them in any role and not go, yeah, you're that guy. You're this actor. I know you're this person. There's a lot of actors out there like that, and James Franco happens to be one. there's many moments in here in which I was like, did they give you like a prosthetic forehead or something? Because like you do not look like James Franco right now. There's that one shot in which they're talking about James Dean. They're at James Dean's the site of his crash site. And like maybe it's just the lighting or something, but I was like, dude, that looks like Tommy Wiseau in that moment. That looks like him. Yeah, so I gotta say, he kind of nailed it, man. I gotta give it to him. At least to me.
It's like anyone can do like a Tommy Wiseau impression, but like no one, it's hard to like actually like capture his character because he is so bizarre and mysterious.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Why I say anybody can do a Tommy Wiseau impersonation? Anybody can quote lines from The Room.
Yeah.
He had to be Tommy Wiseau in a diner. He had to be Tommy Wiseau hanging out with his friend. Like he had to be Tommy Wiseau behind the scenes. So yeah, he was able to do that, but also like they're at the end when they're taking their victory lap and just showing people like, okay, got a hiccup there. And just showing people, here's how the scenes match up. His were like 1 for 1. Like just line for line, like the pace at which he read. The only one that he really kind of screwed up was the like, I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. He screwed that one up, but I think he extended that on purpose to kind of be like, this is the moment that everybody's waiting on. Yeah, he really sat down and watched this thing, I don't even know how many times, just so he can, like, quote it exactly the right way.
Like, I wonder if he ever actually, like, talked to Tommy about it, like...
I would be interested, because at the end, there is an end credit scene for anybody interested, in which it's James Franco as Tommy Wiseau at a party, and then the actual Tommy Wiseau comes up, and the two of them talk to each other. So it's like, they clearly met. But like, did Tommy Wiseau come on here? It's like, I'll be in Hollywood movie. Oh, hi, John. Or no, Johnny. That's the other guy. James Franco. Oh, hi, James. And then like he's just off. Yeah, I don't know how much like interaction he got to have with this guy because Tommy Wiseau is a super mysterious figure. Like at the end of this thing, the end credits basically just go, nobody knows how old Tommy is. Nobody knows where his money comes from. Nobody knows what country he's from. It's like, yeah.
And no one knows where he got his money from or anything like that. So
he's
it's like...
the biggest, like, he's the D.B. Cooper of filmmaking. Like, just some mystery guy showed up, had all this cash, the end. No, he could be D.B. Cooper. We don't know how old he is. Those timelines could match up. Actually, no, they don't. He would be way older than that. So yeah, it is kind of interesting to think about how... Man, this is a movie about the making of a film. I kind of want to see a documentary about the making of this one because I do want to know like how much research went into the making of this thing.
Yeah, like an actual document, not a biography or anything like that.
We don't need the making of the disaster artist where Dave Franco plays his brother and then they get someone else to play Dave Franco. That is one thing I have to point out. Dave Franco is good in here. Let me just make sure I'm getting him right because I keep confusing him with Casey Affleck as the famous brothers of Hollywood. Dave Franco. He is good in here. I think that he does a great job in this role. However, I think it was a mistake to cast James Franco's brother as Greg. Because even though James Franco melts into this role, there's still so many moments in here in which I'm like, you two look way too much like you're definitely brothers. Yeah, you two are definitely brothers. Like, they could have put him in here in any other role in this film. But it's the fact that they made him, like, the guy he's constantly talking to throughout this entire movie that I'm just like, dude, we know you're related. You look way too similar to each other. Maybe that was just me. I don't know if you had that problem with it. But again, Dave Franco was very good in here. Again, I'm saying this from a very personal place. I loved Seth Rogen in this film. Seth Rogen and Paul Scheer. This entire movie is nothing but, oh, I know that guy. This entire movie is so many actors who are, there needs to be a word for them. Like, you know how like throughout the history of Hollywood, there has always been like those groups of like comedians or celebrities, like, you know, the Brat Pack in the 80s. Like those groups where it's like, they're all those guys who hang out together and we all know them. I don't know if there's a word for that group, but every single person in here, like Hannibal Buress was in here, Paul Scheer was in here, obviously Seth Rogen, but then also, the thing opens up with a couple of them in there, like, fuck, I'm forgetting all their names. But you guys know the group that I'm talking about in here. I really want to know the guy who, hold on, I have to look it up because otherwise it will bug the hell out of me. Not Zac Efron. Here it is. Jason Mantzoukas. That's the guy I was trying to remember. But yeah, Jason Mantzoukas, Paul Scheer, Hannibal Buress, the Rogan and his whole crew. They are like a very tightly knit bunch of celebrities and comedians in Hollywood. And I really feel like they need to have a name, but it was so weird to just look at them making a movie, and they've made movies together before, but never this many of them all in one film. And they were typically like, yeah, that's kind of fun. It's weird to think that all of them came together and they're making an Oscar-worthy film. Like, at least a film that people are, like, speaking of as being Oscar-worthy. I'll be honest with you, I would not have a problem with it getting nominated for Best Picture. Definitely James Franco for Best Actor, I can see that. Even Best Adapted Screenplay, because this does come from the actual autobiography that was written. So I would be okay with that too. If it gets nominated for Best Picture, I can see it happening. I don't know if it's going to be in my personal 10 of the year. It's close. At the moment, it probably is, but there's still a lot of other good contenders coming. But yeah, it's just so crazy to me to think that that group of comedians were able to put out something that everyone is loving this much. And I'm wondering where that's coming from. Because I like it, but it's just shocking to me that so many people like it as well. Because it's got like a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's one of the highest rated films of the year, and that's insane to me. But yeah, so anything else that you want to talk about in here? Because we haven't really talked about the film all that much, at least compared to how much we normally talk on these things.
No, well,
most of it was my backstory in this episode.
Well, the thing is, there isn't really much to talk about.
It isn't. It's really just, you know what the story is. And I don't even mean the story is that they made The Room. It's like, okay, they're friends, they move in together, then he gets a girlfriend, Tommy gets upset about it, then Tommy starts lashing out on the set, and then eventually at the end he releases the movie, which I will say, the moment that Dave Franco, he sees the giant billboard for The Room, it's like, what the fuck? Because it's like a year after, without talking to Tommy any of this time. That was another thing that I found really interesting about this. I had no idea how long this took place over. Like, this takes place over the course of 5 years. That was insane to me that this movie like had that much backstory to it. Because it really feels like a film that's just like, okay, they went and they did the thing and it was over with. The end. It's like, no, this really took years of like pre-planning, of like their friendship building up, of like the post-production in which you know that Tommy probably was like, should I get rid of it? Should I not get rid of it? So yeah, that actually is kind of fascinating to see that.
Yeah, several years in the late 90s, you can tell from all the soundtracks. Like,
it's really, that leans in here pretty heavily, but I was like, yeah, I mean, it matches.
I know, I just feel like it's very much like those like current movies set in the 80s, like, we gotta like put 80s music in here. I kind of feel like in this particular movie, it's like, we gotta put 90s music in here, so... I
can understand that people have a lot of problems with the 80s films when they do that, so I understand people being upset with that. Although I will say, I'm gonna be really upset if that becomes a trend, because I like the music of the 80s. I don't really give a shit about the music of the 90s.
It's like, this is nice dance music, yay!
There's a lot, there's a lot of house music from the 90s, which was good for a while, and then it gets real fucking old real quick. So, anything else to really talk about in this film?
Well, one thing I really like is how Tommy keeps bringing up real Hollywood.
Yeah, because it does. That's the thing. We talked about Tommy Wiseau and kind of being like, well, fuck that guy, because he was stinking loaded. But it does really get to his character, even beyond just the fact that it's like, okay, he had the resources for this. He's still like, this was still like a golden thing to him off in the distance, and he wanted to be a part of it. And I really did dig seeing like the rejection that he got. Like there's that moment in which he's in the acting class and they're like, you're a villain. And you're like, I'm not villain, I'm the hero. And he's like, no, dude, I'm trying to help you here. You're the villain, you're a vampire, you're a Frankenstein, you're not the hero. And he's like, no, you're all the villains because you're laughing and that's what villains do. And then at the end of this, he has to face an entire room full of people laughing at him. And he goes up there and he's like, you know what, thank you for laughing at me. And I was like, okay, character development, that's actually pretty nice there. That's not bad. It does get to like his backstory there. But yeah, when he talks about real Hollywood, he talks about like a child. And it really does kind of make you be like, oh, poor, no, dude, no.
No, it's like, I like how he actually has, like, a set that replicates the alley that's, like, right outside the studio, because that's real Hollywood.
He needs that.
Yeah, it's like, no, everything in Hollywood is fake and pretty.
Yes.
So the sets have to be fake and the actors have to be pretty.
Yeah, like, because he's freaking out about everybody not being gorgeous looking.
Yeah.
And it's like, or like, you know, there's like a mole on like the shoulder of like his lead actress.
Yeah, and like he tried to be a model before doing all this too, so he obviously thinks he's perfect and everything too.
He works out a lot. That's the thing, if you ever look at that dude without his shirt on, it's like, yeah, man, maybe you should be Frankenstein, because you are built like a giant juggernaut. You could crush all those critics' heads between your hands like grapes.
And it's like, yeah, I have to show my world my ass because it's so beautiful or something.
Yeah, it's like, my ass is the sex that will sell this film. It's like, yeah, man, it really does make you kind of understand this character more. Like I said, he is the biggest mystery figure in all filmmaking. And I like that this film, whether it's, you know, actually true about him or not, it did give him some backstory. Like, not even really so much backstory, but it did give him, you know, a heart. It did give him something that you can look at and be like, oh, okay, I get you, man. I get you. Okay. So yeah, I find that to be really well executed. And like, especially just the fact that he needs a friend, I think is a very big part of this, because at the end of it, when he fires the guys who are making fun of him on the set and hires just some random guys, for the shot of them playing football, they drive all the way back to San Francisco. Like, they drive all the way back to where they originally played football at the beginning of this, just so that they could play football again. And I was like, man, this dude needed to put this scene in a movie just so that he could have that thing with his friend that he had 5 years ago in here. Yeah, it was really, man, I don't want to keep saying touching, but it does get to like, okay, I see your emotional state. I see where you're coming from. I see why you are kind of the way that you are. Although I will say a lot, again, he's such a mystery figure, and people are like, well, why do you talk like that? The only real backstory we get on him is when he says, I was in a car accident, guy drove through a red light, hit me, and I thought, you know, I could die from that. And I did kind of think, is that why he is the way that he is? And he's so weird. Like, does he have brain damage? Because then I feel really bad for laughing at him. But that's the only possible backstory we get to, like, why he is the way that he is. Which makes me wonder, again, if that's just something that they added into this movie so that they could kind of be like, hey guys, we don't know who the fuck this guy is.
It's like, and I like the friendship between Tommy and Greg. It's like, Tommy needed someone who can understand him and help him, while Greg needed someone to help him come out of his shell. And so that it's like kind of like they did need each other, and that's why he couldn't do this movie without him. So.
Yeah, there's that moment in which like when they first meet and they're first like having lunch with each other, and he's just kind of like, why do you want to do this scene with me? And Greg, you know, what Greg gets out of this is that Tommy helps him learn how to open up, but you kind of get the sense that like from that moment that like Tommy didn't even understand the concept of someone wanting to do something with him. So just the idea that somebody wanted to actually work with him and do something with him and, you know, be a friend of his, like be in public with him. Because yeah, he probably has like never like had anybody else to lunch at this diner before.
Yeah, like there's even like a scene where like someone talks to Greg is like, your roommate, he's toxic. He's Hollywood toxic. No one will hire you if you're hanging out with him. And it's like, oh god, that's so sad, but so true.
Yes. We have, yeah, it's like, I don't want to say we all have, but it's like, we've probably like known that one person's like, you're cool, but man, it's weird being in public with you. Yeah, it's like, I'm not saying like we all had that person we had to drop, but it's like, no, because a lot of us like stuck by those people.
Yeah.
But like, we've all like at one point been in high school, particularly in high school, where you had like that friend and they're like, hey, you want to come to the party? Don't bring that guy. It's like, oh, I can't bring this guy? Oh, okay. Well, I guess I just won't tell him about, you know, something like that. This is kind of that, but on the adult level. Like, this is it in the real world. So yeah, I think that they captured that very well.
Yeah.
This film, it really does just kind of nail everything that's going for. And I think one of the things that also nails very well is everybody's reaction to Tommy. Because like when he comes into the equipment rental place and he's just like, we don't rent, we buy. And he's like, okay, that's not typically how this happens. And he's like, do you want film or HD? We're going to shoot on both. And it's like, no one does that. You have to hire like additional like lighting people. And it's like, we do it all. We do everything. It's like, just seeing the people like in that moment in which they were like, we could get so much money out of this. But it's fucking insane. Like, yeah, they nail those reactions. I love the moment in which Seth Rogen has to go and cash the check because he's like, this guy's insane and I know this isn't going to work. Wait, it worked? He has the money for this? And I'm like, oh yeah. It's basically bottomless. Like, yeah. Again, I relate to the Seth Rogen character because I know what it's like to work for a guy who's insane, but they're your source of income. Except that mine wasn't nearly as constant. Regular, I should say. Man, there really was one other scene in here that I really wanted to talk about, but I'm completely blanking on. But yeah, any other closing thoughts that you want to give on this?
No, I think I pretty much said whatever I need to say.
I think so, yeah. This film, the only big problem that I had with it was just what you mentioned about they do make it a, hey man, it's important to follow your dream. And it is, but that means way more from someone who isn't like infinitely loaded with cash. But also it kind of like, the message in the beginning I think is really solid.
Yeah.
Also, I would have dug seeing like a little bit more after that screening. Like, you know, maybe the two of them sit down for like dinner one more time and just talk with each other and they just like goes like, well, what do we do next with this? And like, then it like leads into like the like, here's what happened next. And they did all these things. And to this day, he still like does all this stuff. But yeah, I think it's actually a really interesting look at filmmaking because, as I said, we get so many films about filmmaking, but never a film about bad filmmaking, about like the worst experience you could have filmmaking, about like someone who just is not a good filmmaker or not a good actor making.
Yeah, honestly, I think those movies would be way more interesting than
this, like I said, this is really fucking interesting. And it's another reason why I can totally see the Oscars nominating for this for Best Picture, because the Oscars love movies about filmmaking. They've never had one like this before. But yeah, I'm honestly, it's not one that I'm like absolutely in love with, but I'm really impressed with it. It's one where it might not be, especially for me, it's not one that I'm gonna go back and watch again, but it is one that I'm like, I can totally see all the positives in here. This is a damn well-made film. But yeah, let us know what you guys thought in the comments down below. As I said, I've got an official review of this coming up later. It will be a little bit more well thought out and not include the 20-minute long backstory to Professor Thorgy. But thank you guys for checking out this post-Geekout reaction. We do these every single week as well as official reviews. So if you want to check any of those out, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and follow us on Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time.
Bye.
Bye.